Oh, hello. You've caught me enjoying my morning ritual.
It was a long day yesterday. I was hunting until the remnants of daylight melted into the evening haze. I stored some pelts on Naomi, ready to sail in the morning, and under a fresh, starlit sky, I set up camp. Flame roasted some dinner before drifting off beneath a blanket of constellations. And so to morning. It starts with freshly brewed coffee. It always starts with coffee.
I have to start each new Red Dead day with a freshly brewed pot of coffee. Otherwise, I just get all twitchy and my aim is off. I can't just ride into the western wilds on an empty stomach.
I know it's quirky, maybe a bit mad, but increasingly, I feel I'm not so much playing Red Dead Redemption 2 as living in it, which got me thinking about the uniqueness of video games as an entertainment medium. Like film, literature and music, games are a thing we consume for pleasure, but by their very nature, video games are capable of pulling from us emotional reactions those other three never could.
So here are 6 amazing things only video games can do.
Number 1. They make you care for things that aren't physically real. Now, obviously, movies, books, and music do this. We get attached to characters and feel devastated when bad things happen to them. But there are certain attachments that can only be fostered by video games. I'm talking about the unique bond that is formed when you invest emotional and creative energy into the upbringing of a thing. Example, your horse in Red Dead Redemption 2. Sorry, I'm going to use it lots in this video, it's all I can think about. You buy your horse, or maybe you've even broken in a wild horse. You name your horse, you spend hard-earned cash on your horse's saddle. You pat your horse, brush your horse, feed your horse, level up your bond with your horse. It's your horse.
Even if you went and bought the exact same horse as me, it would still be a different horse. It would have a different name, a different saddle, a different style and colour of mane and tail.
And this is how video games differ from other media. You are constantly projecting your own style of play onto the things with which you form attachments. There's a sense of ownership, of responsibility in some cases. Think about the crops you grow in Stardew Valley or the settlements you build in Fallout 4. You're not sitting back and passively absorbing the creativity of someone else, you are putting your own mark on these things. And so, when your horse dies, like Dave's did in our Red Dead Redemption 2 live stream...
I'm also absolutely gutted, because I love Nightmare.
You feel the loss even more keenly, don't you? I remember this guy at my school, Sam Clark his name was. He was the school hard nut, you didn't mess with Sam Clark. One day, we found him crying in the toilets. Why? His Tamagotchi had died.
It's heartbreaking, okay? These are more than just characters in a story. They belong to us. And losing them is very painful. Only in video games can you form attachments like this. Number 2, you can relax inside a video game. Now, if you asked 1,000 people why they play video games, I'm sure a popular answer would be to escape, to wind down, to de-stress. And you'd probably get a similar response if you asked the same number of people why they watched movies. But the thing about video games is you can actively de-stress within the world of the game.
Had a particularly bad day in the real world? Then don't worry about doing any story missions tonight. Maybe do some fishing instead. Play some cards.
I like bird watching with my binoculars. I go somewhere remote, listen to the rustle of the trees, the crunch of snow underfoot, get my knocks out, and just have a good old stare. Or failing that, I'll sit by the campfire and watch day turn to night, turn to day. And this is Red Dead 2, an open world action adventure. But not on my TV, not tonight.
And you can relax in pretty much any game if you like.
Resi 7, stand in the entrance hall and just, inhale that damp, rotten air. PES 2019, just have a rest and watch the AI score all the goals. The point is, you can't dictate the pace of any other media. You can't manifest moments of quiet reflection in a Hollywood action blockbuster. You can't press X to make Jason Statham look pensively out a window. In video games, you can. You can slow them down, shape them to your mood, regardless of genre. Video games are malleable art, unique in their ability to flex around the emotional desires of the player. The third amazing thing only video games can do is they can motivate you to get more out of them than you normally would. Trophies, for example, encourage you to play games on hard mode, to find all the collectibles, to play certain portions of the story a certain way.
Trophies are basically the art suggesting you perceive it in a different way.
An obvious example would be a game like Heavy Rain, for which I earned the Platinum Trophy. To do that, I had to see all 18 endings. That meant sometimes Heavy Rain was bittersweet. Sometimes it was a bleak tragedy. Sometimes it was the murderer getting away with it scot-free and walking down the street with a big murdery smirk on his face. But more than just seeing every potential story outcome, trophies will encourage you to play the game a different way, and in no other medium do you get this. You don't finish reading The Lord of the Rings, get through the appendices.
To be honest, there should be an actual gold trophy hand-delivered to people who've managed that.
Get all the way to the back and find a message from Tolkien saying, "Congratulations on reading the book. For an extra challenge, why not try and read it again, but this time in under 3 hours?"
Speed reading isn't a thing, is it? Although maybe it should be. I'm gonna make it a thing.
Okay, so welcome to the 2019 Speed Reading Championships, Chad. We have Mr. Paige Turner attempting the world record for a single read-through of A Song of Ice and Fire. Can he do it?
You're absolutely right. I mean, we've been looking forward to this matchup, Paige Turner with this entire collection of books for quite some time.
We're going for a Game of Thrones. On your marks, yes, go. Okay, here we go. Prologue.
Okay. He struggled there with the first couple of pages.
And we're in.
I mean, there was a bookmark. Should have done better there, to be honest, but already seems to be into the thick of things.
I reckon 2 or 3 lines already.
I'd say easily.
It's going well.
It's worth remembering this prologue opens with just a half a page of text. So when we see the page turn here, looks like it's coming up. That's only half a page. So don't, get ahead of yourselves if you think it's going very fast.
Yeah, books don't do that, do they? The fourth entry on our list of amazing things only video games can do is that they give you a different experience each time you play. And yes, of course, the majority of movies and books will give you something extra on second viewing or reading, but you're still watching the same unchanging piece of film, reading the same words fixed on the page. With some video games, you can literally change what happens. Maybe it's as simple as doing story missions in a different order, or maybe you're playing a different character this time, or making alternative narrative choices.
Either way, when you play a story-driven video game for the second or third time, it can still feel like the first time.
Everything's still fresh and surprising, and that's because you're constantly doing things that you didn't previously. Imagine a story-driven game as a long plank of wood. There are certain narrative beats locked in. These are like nails hammered into the wood at certain points. But between the nails are numerous grains down which you can travel, and they're unpredictable and wild, and even if you try and play exactly the same way you did before,
Skyrim, always a stealthy archer, always,
you'll more than likely end up on a different path, thanks to the seductive flexibility of the game's systems. In a game like Skyrim, quests are often generated based on an unseen set of conditions the player has fulfilled, meaning a quest that started outside Whiterun on your first playthrough, for example, might now trigger in Markarth on your second. So whereas repeat viewings of films may yield fresh revelations or new understanding, you're still watching the same film. Repeat playthroughs of video games, on the other hand, you could argue in some cases, are like playing entirely different video games altogether. Number 5. video games can act as a platform from which you can build actual real-world relationships. Now, I know there are fandoms and communities surrounding other media, and movie franchises can be responsible for bringing people together, for instance, but video games are more than just a thing around which a community of like-minded individuals can grow. Video games can be the meeting place, the hangout, the social space, whatever you want to call it. In video games, you can make actual real-life friends. In Final Fantasy XIV, for instance, you can join a free company, quest together, buy a house together, and then meet up in real life together, realise there are no chocobos to ride in Wiltshire together, and go back to playing Final Fantasy XIV together, where everything is better.
True story, my sister and her fiancé met on the streets of Burnout Paradise. Instead of dates, they did donuts.
All this is possible thanks to the uniqueness of video games being an art form you can inhabit rather than simply observe. In a video game, you can go somewhere else, live somewhere else, even be someone else. Which leads neatly onto point number 6.
In movies, you watch the superhero. In video games, you are the superhero.
Back when I was at university, I took part in a research project being conducted by a PhD student.
He put up an ad on the student union notice board asking for people to come and play video games for half an hour for my degree, and so I was like, yeah, okay.
He got me to play Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and then after 30 minutes asked me simply to explain what had happened.
I was in a ghillie suit and had to crouch down in the long grass, and Captain Macmillan was with me, and it was incredibly tense because we couldn't move a muscle. The enemy was walking right towards us, and they walked like right past our face. It was incredibly tense, but we managed to make it through. And then I got out my sniper rifle, and
so I described what happened, and the PhD student nodded knowingly and told me how I'd proven a worthy test subject by describing the events of the game in first person. I was crouching in long grass. We managed to make it through. Unknowingly, subconsciously, I'd projected myself onto the characters. And of course we do this. We're the ones acting in video games. Even when we're playing as fully defined characters viewed in third person, like Nathan Drake or Kratos or Aloy. If we're chatting to a friend about what happens in those games, more often than not, we're talking in the first person. I killed a Thunderjaw. I drove a jeep in an epic chase. I punched a mythical creature to death with my bare hands.
Whereas if you're describing what happened in a film, you'd never use first person.
You know, you don't watch Mission Impossible and tell your friend, today I stole a secret disc from CIA headquarters while suspended from an air vent. No, Ethan Hunt did that. Legolas surfed down the trunk of an Oliphaunt. Greedo shot first. Simply put, video games enable us to feel superheroic in ways other forms of media can't, simply because of their interactive nature. And you don't need me to tell you that feels amazing. So there you have it, 6 amazing things only video games can do. Let us know in the comments if you can think of any other examples, like the video if you enjoyed it, and click that notification bell to make sure you always know when a new Friday feature goes live. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
I'm gonna need a bathroom break shortly, actually.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure we can.
I think you read a funny bit there. That's good to know.
Page turn.
And we're in.
For the players.